Why, hello there, friends. It's Emma here, the Bookish Princess, and I have my lovely co-host for the Boo to You Readathon. Anne is here with me.
Hey!
I'm so excited. Today we're going to be doing just a sort of Boo to You Readathon chat about our progress in the Readathon, but also just about Disney in general, our favorite things at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, which is, of course, the inspiration behind this Readathon, and a little bit of Disney history since we just passed the 50th anniversary of the Magic Kingdom. So it should be really fun. Thank you so much for being here, Anne.
I am so excited. I feel very spooky already.
Yes, and thank you for being our co-host. It's been so fun to have you. Your Victorian, like sort of haunted mansion, like Victorian books, Victober Boo to You crossover video was so good. I love that so much.
Oh, thank you. I love old vintage books, so it was fun to look through those and show them off.
Those were so beautiful. Um, all right, so we have a list of chat topics, and I think we are going to start at the parks. So we'll start chatting about Disney, and then we'll talk about how our reads are going for the Boo to You challenges this year. But yeah, first we were just going to talk generally about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. I've seen some of your amazing costumes, Anne, on your Instagram and YouTube channel. I know you really that Anna dress is so beautiful. What are your favorite memories from the Halloween party?
Well, yours too. You have amazing costumes. I love the Mary Poppins and the Trolley Girl. I love the Trolley Girl. That is so cute. But I would say definitely the Princess Anna was my favorite. I've been looking for a Belle, Princess Belle, because Belle and Rapunzel are my favorite princesses. So I found like a short Rapunzel one year, but I could not find a Belle one because Disney has that. They have that rule where you can't drag your costume on the ground. And so I'm fairly tall, but it's been like hard to find the right costume. And so I just happened to find this one on Amazon that's made by a company. I want to say it's in China. And so it's made for a little bit more like petite women. And so it just like, it was like this much off the ground. And so it was absolutely perfect. And that was just like so much fun too. Even though like Anna's not my favorite, I really like grew to love her even more by dressing up as her and like thinking about all the chocolate. So that's like my favorite costume ever. What about you?
I felt the same way about Mary Poppins. Where like I'd always liked her, but she wasn't like my favorite. But just my mom, it was her idea initially, actually, that it would be a fun costume to make. We kind of cobbled it together. We found like a really full white skirt and then like a white lacy top. And then of course my brother, Athos, was Bert. And that was really fun. She like I think we used glue actually rather than sew to get like all the ribbons on a white jacket. So I feel like my memories of Not So Scary, it's like it starts before you even get to Disney, which is the case with most trips. It's like the anticipation is half the fun. But when it's a Not So Scary Halloween party trip, it's like the anticipation is way up because you have all this work to either find the costume or make the costume, like plan it out if you're, doing a group costume. One year our first Mary Poppins year, actually, I have four brothers, and the other three brothers were chimney sweeps. So it was really fun. We were all like totally Mary Poppins out. But yeah, the trolley girl was so much fun. That was the first time I bought like a petticoat, and
Oh,
wearing that petticoat at the parks, I just like it made me want to wear a petticoat all the time. I wish petticoats had never gone out of fashion. It was so much fun. I feel like I don't know if you ever get this comment, but sometimes it's like people say, "Oh, aren't you hot and uncomfortable?" And it's like it is so fun to wear costumes to the Halloween party that at least for me personally, that like barely enters my mind. It's like
yeah.
it's hot, you go into the shop and cool down in the air conditioning. Like it's just such a joy to be wearing like a petticoat or your big hat, like all of the like little, I had lace gloves for Mary Poppins. Just like to be all dressed up is so special. And of course, like adults normally can't dress up at Disney, which I know last year because of like all the COVID stuff, they did let anyone who wanted to dress up just dress up because they weren't doing the Halloween party. But in normal times, it's like so special to be able to wear a costume as an adult to Disney World, and it's so much fun. And I always love looking at the other guests because I think that's half of the excitement of it is that everyone gets in the spirit, and there are so many people dressed up. Like there's always like at least a dozen families of Incredibles, and there's like Cinderellas and Prince Charmings, and it's just so fun to see how creative people get and like what they pick and whether they bought it or made it by hand. Like there's just so many. It's so clever. I remember one year, I think there was an Oswald rabbit and like a old fashioned Walt, like a young Walt, you know, from the beginning of his career, and just like things you never would have thought of, and you see them and you're like, oh, that's so brilliant. Are there any other guests that you remember seeing and like loving their costumes?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I love it for the exact same reason that you do. It is so cool to see everyone dressed up and to feel like a kid again, because just even in adult life, I mean, if you may have friends or have a party or whatever, but it's like how often do you get to go all out to go trick or treating and feel like a kid again?
Because yeah, you actually get to go through the trick or treat line with your bag and get the candy.
That part is so much fun. I'm trying to think of some of the costumes I've seen. One, I think the last time that I went, there was a guy who had on the shorts, like the striped shorts with the Haunted Mansion outfit. You know the paintings that rise, and there's like a
Oh,
guy with shorts. Yeah, he was the guy with the striped shorts. So that was pretty funny. And then of course I remember a very specific Cinderella and Prince Charming with their two little toddlers who were mice, Jacques and Gus.
oh
It
my
was
gosh, that's so
so
cute.
cute, and the mom was just like so pretty, and the dad just totally looked like Prince Charming. So it was just like they belonged on a magazine, like the whole family did. It was just so cute. And one year though, this was my very first Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. Like I don't remember. It was probably like 2011 or something, like a long time ago. And so I'm not sure if they have changed this by now, but if this would be allowed. But I saw an Edward Scissorhands, and the guy actually had like not real blades, but they were like fake blades. But I'm like, I feel like that counts as a weapon, because you know how people now say like no weapons. So I feel like they probably changed that. But the guy legit like had on the white makeup, the crazy hair, the scissory hands, and he was like standing in line for Winnie the Pooh. And I thought it was just the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
That is such a dichotomy of scissor hands in line for. That's part of the fun. Yeah, you like see people getting on like Small World or Big Thunder in their crazy costumes, and it's just so fun. I love uh you mentioning the guy from the Haunted Mansion. Like the
Yeah.
Haunted Mansion, I feel like is just so decked out the way they have those ghost hosts out on the lawn greeting you. Oh, and I always have to take a selfie with one of the cast members because like they're all ghostified. Oh, it's just
And
such.
the mist everywhere, like it just looks so cool, like a movie set or something.
They do such a good job like kind of transforming the park because it feels almost like a different park because all the music is different. The music is always such a big part of like that you don't even really notice, but like that like makes you know you're at the Magic Kingdom. But during the Halloween party, it's like all kind of spooky jams. And then the lights, yes, and the mist, especially the lights on Main Street. I think that's always my favorite part. They're so magical. My first Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party was back somewhere in the 2000s. I can't remember what year exactly. It's funny because we went to that one, but then we didn't go again until like 2014. But my youngest brother was really little. He was like maybe 4 or 5 years old, and I had planned to be Megara. So like we'd made that costume too. We like got the purple fabric. I think we actually like there's something you can do to fabric to make it more kind of crinkly. Like we were trying to achieve the same texture, a similar texture to what Meg's dress looks like in the movie. But my mom hadn't told me this. But when we were getting ready at the hotel, my little brother comes out in a baby Hercules costume,
I
and
got
he was just the cutest. I think he only stayed in the costume like for the first hour of the party, and then he was over it. But it was really fun for the pictures and just like to have the baby Hercules and Meg.
adorable. Oh my gosh, I love it.
I think one of my favorite pictures of us from that there we took a picture with and I don't know when you went to the Halloween party, your first Halloween party, if they still had this or when they got rid of it, but they used to do giant inflatables on like the roof of Tomorrowland.
I do.
There was like an alien, like it was
Yeah.
very effective. I don't know why they got rid of it, but it was so funny to see this giant alien popping out of the Tomorrowland roof.
I love how they change everything. It's so beautiful, and like even Frontierland. I don't know if you've gone to see the Cadaver Dance. Like I love them. I think they're so much fun.
Yeah, they're so good. The way they like think of all your favorite park things and then just make them spooky.
Oh, I love it. I do wish that they had like more overlays. I was a little bit disappointed with the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like they were supposed to make it more fun, and it's just literally like one actor at the top of the bridge. It was cool, but I missed the Spelltacular that year for that because I was like, okay, I haven't done this, and there's supposed to be an overlay, and I was like, it's one pirate, it's one pirate.
We need more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need like 5 pirates. I want them like
Yeah.
on the ride. I'm sure that would be like kind of dangerous, but it would still be really fun.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. I kind of like. Have you watched the new fireworks yet? Fireworks show?
The new, just like the regular castle fireworks
Yeah,
enchantment.
I can't.
Yeah,
Enchantment, is that it? The brand new one. I haven't seen it in person, but I watched part of it at least on YouTube.
yeah,
And I thought it was neat. They were showing clips of Main Street, and I think that now like there are projections on the shops, like
yeah,
just like during the Halloween party. And I was thinking, I mean, in some ways, I feel like then it makes the projections at the Halloween party a little less special, but at the same time, it's really smart to use that because that is so effective and like it's so fun. I think they have like the characters running across the shops. It just looks really cute.
yeah. No, that's really cool. I don't know if you've ever watched Resort TV 1, but they do Friday Night Live at Disney World, like family friendly streams, and it's just like so, they're so positive and upbeat. So like I turn that on all the time. So I watched their stream of that, which was really cool to see.
That's so fun.
Still getting used to it though, because like it took me a really long time to get over Wishes. I absolutely loved Wishes, and then I
I'm not over wishes.
yeah, I'm not over it either. I did fall in love with Once Upon a Time. I absolutely think these fireworks are spectacular, like the way they look. I'm not sure. Like I feel like if I were there, maybe I'd pick up on the story more. People say that there is a story, but it just doesn't feel as intense as like Wishes or Once Upon a Time. So we'll see. I love Jiminy Cricket. I'm just not over Wishes. Like old school Disney nostalgia is my thing. Like give me the original Walt stuff. And I really for the 50th, I wanted Walt to like his voice to say something or like the dedication of Roy to play. So it's like the fireworks are beautiful, but I had my critiques. I'm sure they don't care what I think, but I had my critiques on the storyline.
No, 100%. I totally agree with you. I remember when I was watching it, they were saying, "Oh, there's like this is the beginning of a journey." And like then there wasn't really a narrative. Like
Yeah,
Wishes is so powerful because Jiminy Cricket does take you on a journey. Like first you're all hopeful and thinking about all the wishes that the different kinds, like all the different kinds of wishes from Peter Pan, Cinderella, from all these different characters. And then it's like, you're adventurous and then the villains come and like the romance. But like there is an arc. And
yeah.
like I felt like even in Happily Ever After. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. What is the one that was just replaced? I know the name. There was still kind of a narrative, but it wasn't quite as strong. And like now it feels like there wasn't really one. It was just sort of like a
Yeah.
YouTube clips show of Disney. It was fun. When the Tiana song came on, Almost There, I was like, this was such a great song to choose for the fireworks, but I thought it was so ironic because like Almost There is the name of the song, but it was the first song. Like, just in a like, story, wouldn't you save that like for the middle or the end? Because that's like, the powerful punch behind it. But and it's such a great song. It was such a brilliant choice for the fireworks. But yeah, I'm sure, although as you say, I'm sure it will grow on me. And when I see it in person, and it was beautiful and like lots of fun things that they added. But
Yeah, it was absolutely
Wishes
beautiful.
is where it's at
Yeah, I
always.
know where it's at. Although I will say for Happily Ever After, every single time it would get to that part where from the Lion King where it says, "Remember who you are. You are more than what you've become." Like I would just cry. Like I don't know why. It's just so powerful the way that they set that up. And then when Tinkerbell's like, "You can fly, you can fly, you can fly," I feel like I'm gonna tear up right now. Like it just like made me so emotional. And I'm just like, I didn't feel that for the new show. But I did feel that it was beautiful. So I think if you were like standing there, and I've heard that it's a little bit more surround sound, that I've heard that the people who have actually like been there feel differently about it. But yeah, we'll see. But Wishes Forever. I'm just like that with like anything they retire. And I think that's just the case with so many Disney fans. It's like, that's my favorite. You can't say that. Do things
How
like
could you do that? And my brother Athos, when we first watched Happily Ever After, he's like, "Well, they kept the celestial sky, Dad, because I think in Wishes it was Zeus that they had. I think they had Zeus saying something, and then in this one it's Simba's dad. So obviously the celestial sky dad has just got that emotional appeal. But yeah, I totally agree. I will always mourn for Sunset Point. That was like, honestly, I feel in a way that like Disney can't really disappoint me now because they already got rid of my very favorite place. So like, we have a new relationship. I still love them, but it's like you already got rid of my favorite place, so I can't really. There's nothing further
I
to
don't
do.
trust you anymore.
But obviously, like the Polynesian is still wonderful. Obviously, you still love it, and maybe that's part of the fun is you walk around and are like, wasn't that like that? Wasn't that like that?
Well, I think that's being a Disney fan. It like means so much to you, and there's so many memories attached to it that for me, I feel like every time they change something, and I think this is probably most Disney fans, it's like you're literally changing my childhood memory, and it feels strange. It's like you're going into my childhood memories, and you're just like, I don't care about this anymore.
Let me rearrange this.
That's like what it was meant to be. I mean, like everyone says, Walt always says it was supposed to keep like evolving, but it's just like certain things in your mind. It's like when you go back, like Peter Pan's flight, hopefully, knock on wood, they never get rid of that. But that's one of those things that it's just like I've ridden that since my very first trip, and it's just like you're going back to like pieces of your past, and it just like it's just so nostalgic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you need to see the same things in the same spots. When I worked, because I worked at the boardwalk for about a year, and one time they were cleaning some of the chairs, and like I think they had just taken them away that morning, and this mom comes up and she's like, I always take a picture of my son with this chair, and it was here yesterday, and we're leaving tomorrow. And I think I went out to try to find the van, but it was gone. I was so sad. I was like, if I could get this chair back for you, I would. But yeah, it's like the smallest little things are like so important to like become part of your memories, part of your photos, part of growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know we have this question later, but should we just go ahead and talk about this question now? Which thing that we both miss the most about the
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I've already kind of given my answer. You're
park?
right. I jumped at well, Sunset Point. I guess that's not at the parks or at the Magic Kingdom. Um,
I need to know where Sunset Point is because I'm totally blanking. This is
it's the Polynesian.
oh,
Technically, it's still there. It used the where the new Bora Bora bungalows are. They
okay.
kind of form a ring along around that little promontory. But there
Yeah.
used to be no bungalows. It was just
Oh,
the Seven Seas Lagoon, and it was a little bit simpler up top. It was just some palm trees, and of course, there were hammocks on the beach. The hammocks are also a big, big thing that I miss. They brought them back briefly at the beginning of 2020 prior to the pandemic. And then, of course, now they're gone again. It's like, what?
oh no, so sad.
I just don't like those bungalows. I don't think I ever will, even if I stay in them. I wish they'd paint them and make them pretty. And I guess it bugs me that like, the beach used to be there was so much space for like all the visitors and everybody to spread out on the beach and watch the fireworks and see the electrical water pageant. And now like half of that beach is only for people staying in the bungalows because otherwise the view is blocked. I wish they'd just built fewer bungalows or like
Yeah.
built them in a different place. I don't know.
I've
Yeah.
seen the videos of them and like the tours, and they're really beautiful. But we stayed at the Polynesian when I was really little several times, and that was like the first place I stayed was the Polynesian, and we just loved it. And so yeah, the changes over the years are kind of crazy. It's still wonderful, but the bungalows do mess with the view because those hammocks and just the beach were great. So
Yeah.
I can. Do you have something from the parks that's like you get really sad every time?
Gosh. I can't think like instantly. I do miss, I mean, I like New Fantasyland. So it's not like I would get rid of New Fantasyland. I like
Yeah,
it a lot. But sometimes when I look at old photos and like you see Dumbo in his old spot
yeah,
and like the lagoon when the lagoon was there, that was a long time ago. I feel like maybe on our earliest visit it was there or maybe not. But I know there also used to be like a fun little playground opposite Who's Adventures.
mm-hmm.
And just one of my youngest brother, he was so cute at Disney growing up, the baby Hercules. And it was just so fun seeing Disney through his eyes and wandering around with him. And he adored that 100 Acre Woods playground. And so like even though I'm not like sad that that's gone, like I love Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, but yeah, it's funny to think of that area of the park and just like it was so different. It looked so different. When was your first trip? Because my first trip was the 25th anniversary, and then we didn't go again for a little while. So like we weren't really there at at the very beginning. I feel like there's like a whole like chunk of park history that I just never experienced, but it's fun to hear about it.
We went when I was a year old, so I do not know if I actually remember it or if I just remember watching the videos over and over again. I do have really weird like early memories. I have just like a crazy memory where I can remember a lot of things. But so I really don't know for sure if I remember it, or like I said, I wore that home movie tape out so much because my dad filmed It's a Small World for me, and like different rides like parades and things like that. And so they actually had to make a copy of it because they were afraid the VHS tape was going to like get worn out. And so because I just wanted to watch the rides and just like our memories and everything over and over again. So it's like I don't know. I feel like I probably just like cemented it in for me, but I know I was mesmerized by It's a Small World. Like my mom and dad tell me that like I was just like super mesmerized by that. I love the carousel. Of course, I was only a year old, so there wasn't that much I could do. It was like Dumbo, It's a Small World, the carousel. Like I just remember being very like mesmerized by it. And I have a lot of things that I have like a whole list of things that I miss. Like I missed the old Figment. I don't remember it really well, but the old Figment ride before they changed Imagination, like Journey into Imagination, it was so much cooler before they changed it. And that was like the first time I was like, Disney broke my trust as a kid. I was like, what are they gonna do next? Nothing's safe. And then but for me, the Great Movie Ride, the Great Movie Ride kills me. I have not had a chance to do Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway yet.
Okay, yeah.
But like when I would go by it after it was closed, like I would almost like choke up because I don't know if you know, but I studied film in undergrad, like film production and film studies, and then I did my master's in film studies and literature, and just like I've done some things in the film industry, small things, but like behind the scenes. But it was just like film means so much to me, like so much to me. But it's because of that ride. Like as a kid, I went on that ride and I was just like, movies like this is something special. And even though my family watched old movies and I did love old movies, but it was just sort of like seeing the process at that park back when it was more like that, and then seeing the Great Movie Ride, like it inspired me to study film. I was actually watching the ABC special, and there was a director who was saying the exact same thing, and I was like crying watching that special because I was like, me too. So that is the thing that's like always going to kill me. There's like a lot of things that I miss, but that's the one thing I can't let go of. I'm like, I would have bought all the animatronics if I was like billionaire. I would have been like, I will buy the animatronics and I will set them up at my house.
Just
Okay.
rebuild the whole thing.
Rebuild it. That was my dream as a kid, by the way, when I was a little kid, because we went to Disney we went almost every year from the time I was a year old. And so like that was my thing as a kid. Like that was my dream. I was like, I want to become rich so I can have animatronics everywhere. Like that is the creepiest thing when you think of it as an adult. But as a kid, I was like, I want the Mary Poppins animatronic. I want like Peter Pan's right in my house. I want all of that.
Hey, that's how it started out for Walt, right? He was like, I want a train set in my backyard, a mini one.
Exactly.
Yes, that is sad. I do. I mean, I guess things swing back and forth. So maybe Disney will swing back in this direction. But I do miss the like, everything is so branded now, and like it is still good. Like it's still fun, but I miss them being brave enough to be like, here's just a ride about movies. It's not like about a Disney IP. It's just movies. Or, I mean, Epcot. Now I'm thinking of the attraction that I miss most is Maelstrom for sure.
Oh
Like
gosh.
it was such a classic.
I
Like
love
every part of it, so good. Just and El Rio del Tiempo also
yes.
so good. And like the new ones, like I feel like I ride it in my head. I'm still riding the old ride. Half of my enjoyment comes from being like, oh, this is where the eye was. This is where the oil tanker was.
I know. It is so weird. Like I do like the Frozen ride a lot. Like I think it's really fun.
Yeah. It's
But
just you can't replace Maelstrom.
I have to ask though, did your family watch the movie afterwards, or were you like, we have to book it out of there? Because my family was like, hold hands, we are running through and we're not watching the movie.
We would occasionally watch it. I think usually we'd run through. When
Yeah.
I worked at Disney, I feel like, do a lot of things that I hadn't done with my family. And I think that was probably when I first sat down and appreciated the movie. And that was also when my deep love for, you know what? Impression de France. I adore Impression de France. If they get rid of that movie, then it's all over. Because the Bell Show is supposed to share the theater. I don't think
Yeah.
it's supposed to be gone. But yeah, it's so beautiful. When I went on a trip to France one time, I like looked up the shot list and like visited a bunch of the locations in real life. And just it's such a good movie, so beautiful, so well paced, like so the music is just like so evocative. And the Norway, I feel like falling in love with Impression de France made me appreciate the Norway movie more. Whereas before we would just run through. And it was weird. Like the ballerinas, like the music. The Norway one was not up to snuff with Impression de France, but it had its own charm.
We did watch it a few times, but it was mostly like, we have another ride we want to do and do not get left behind. Get out.
Oh yes, yeah, we have a fast pass to run through. When I was editing my 50th anniversary kind of retrospective video, there was a clip I had of me with a paper fast pass, and
Oh,
like that was such a different world where it was like you would have one person take all the tickets and run to the turnstiles and get enough fast passes for everybody, and then it's like you had your window and you came back, and yeah, it was just
I
I
miss
missed those when they left.
you would say.
I missed the paper fast passes. It took
Me,
adjusting.
me too. I remember my favorite memory with that was actually at Disneyland. The first time my mom and I went to Disneyland, and Soarin' had just opened. And so we went on it and we had like the paper fast pass. And as soon as we got off, we loved it so much, and it hadn't opened at Epcot yet. And so we got the paper fast pass and we went to eat at like, oh gosh, it's like, I think it was even before Cars Land was open, but it was like a little Cars type area. It was like a chili cone car place. Anyway, I'm not explaining it well, but we got the paper fast pass and we like ate, and then we went back and did Soarin', and then we got another paper fast pass for Soarin', and then we did something else, and it was like all day we kept having to do Soarin' because we were just so blown away by it.
Yeah.
But I love that you could do that with the paper fast passes. You could just kind of like go on the same ride again, or kind of do what you wanted. But Genie Plus, we won't talk about Genie Plus. Yeah, I'll have to experience it first if I decide to pay for it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is amazing when you think of like the evolutions of like the evolution of the magic band. Like I remember thinking at first, like, is everyone really gonna wear that? And now you walk around the parks, everyone's got their magic band on.
Well,
It isn't really an imposition. It's fun to, get the ones with like the designs and
yeah.
all.
No, I love the magic bands because I was trying to do like the color to my outfit and stuff, and I felt the same way. I didn't like them at first either. And then it's so much easier than pulling out your card, like you had to do that before. But what was I going to say? Oh, my parents were saying that it just reminds them of the e-ticket system because they were there on opening day. They went there on their honeymoon, and they were, well, not opening day. I'm sorry, opening year. That
Yeah,
would have been opening.
1971. Yeah.
Yeah, they were there on opening day, and their stories are really cool. But yeah, they were saying it was kind of like it reminds them of the e-ticket thing, and they said it was just really stressful, having to choose your ticket, which is exactly what we've done with the readathon. And then they would end up buying, especially they said for like the C and D tickets and even the E tickets too. But there were just so many things to choose from that you just like keep going back. With their first year, they just got one book, and then they just like ran out really fast, and so they kept going. They kept going back to get more tickets. But yeah, it does seem like, I don't think it will be like exactly like that, but the whole lightning lane or the tickets, it's like, oh well, if you do want to go on this without any kind of wait, and then you could just see yourself like doing exactly what my parents did, of like just like, oh, but we need one more, but we need one more.
I know, it's like if you're there, it's like we've already spent all this money to get here. We're here. When are we coming back again? Like, yeah, I can see how people will just go with it. Do your parents have any like rides that they really miss or that they like reminisce about that are gone now?
So I did ask them about it, and the Skyway was their big thing. That was like one of their favorite things. And they said the funniest thing is their first trip. They loved it so much that they went and brought my grandmother back the next year. And then they kept going and going. And then, of course, then they brought me when I was born. And then we kept going. But anyway, so they said the Skyway, they loved that. And they said it was so funny because they were the most impressed by the monorail because they'd just never seen anything like that. And they said it was like that was the most impressive ride at Disney. And it wasn't technically a ride. And they like refused to take the boat at Ticket and Transportation. They kept like taking the monorail just so they could ride it. And I'm trying to see, like, I made some notes of some of the things that they were telling me. I know my dad said that he was really impressed with Peter Pan and Haunted Mansion. I know my mom was most impressed by the Skyliner, but my mom's really the most upset. My dad is too. My mom is really upset about the benches on Main Street being gone because they had white, like iron benches, and they were like all scrolly, and they were all lined down Main Street, and that just makes her upset every time that those are gone because she said they were so relaxing and it would just look so quaint, and like Main Street was truly a town. So
Yeah, it would be more inviting with the benches.
yeah. And there were a lot more trees too. Like if you look through the old pictures, it was just like very wooded, and that was like, I see why they got rid of that and did the hub grass and all of that, but that was actually kind of cool because Main Street was there, and then there is like a wooded area on each side, and so it just sort of like this castle was peeking over in the horizon, kind of like the old movies, like when Cinderella starts, you see like the castle kind of peeking
Like the
through.
forest, yeah.
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 So I'm trying to think if there was anything else that they said. They said that the kiosk, I was just curious where the ticket kiosk was. You could get more tickets. It was close to the carousel. And they said that they ate lunch standing up at Casey's corner because they had no idea where to eat and they didn't want to take time to eat. So they just like grabbed some food. They found out there was no place to sit. And then they like dashed to some more rides, which I thought was kind of, I just don't even know what kind of restaurants that they had then. And they said that they were kind of overwhelmed by all of it. So, yeah, I think that's everything that they were talking about.
Speaking of restaurants, I feel like a lot of the things that my family misses and talks about most are food items.
Yeah.
Like our food restaurants. Like we loved the old layout of the Main Street Bakery. Like the new layout, the Starbucks, like it's like there's no seating. It's the 2 lanes and they're always full. There's like always a line at that Starbucks, which is amazing because it's like 2 lines. But it used to be that there was just 1 line, and then there was this lovely, like kind of Victorian style seating area with like plenty of tables and like chairs along the wall, kind of like a bench or not bench, like uh bar stool seating along the wall and like these mirrors, and it just was a place we always loved, and we would always get the giant cinnamon rolls, which have moved to Gaston's. I totally forgot about them for like a couple of years that they'd moved to Gaston's, and on this last trip we went to Gaston's and got one, and I was glad to see they were still huge and like beautiful. But when they were at the Main Street Bakery, they had them all together on a tray and under a heat lamp, and like the tray was full of like the top, the drizzle, so they would always scoop one up and then scoop up a ton of the drizzle, like extra drizzle to put on top of it, and it was so much fresher because had been under the heat lamp, and it was just
Yeah.
I missed that on Main Street also. Well, thankfully our favorite dessert at Liberty Tree Tavern, have you ever tried this, the ooey gooey toffee cake?
I think we might have when I was little. I found out right before I started my vlog, I found out I had celiac disease, which is another reason that like I love Disney because they are so good with allergy friendly foods and they make these amazing foods that are gluten free. And I feel like a normal person because I can just pretty much go to any restaurant and know that I'll be safe. So I don't know if I ever tried that. I got to try a lot of the gluten filled things before that, but I don't know if I ever tried it. It looks really good.
Yeah, my mom especially is like that is her must have, like
Yeah.
not the rides, not anything else. Ooey gooey toffee cake. Oh, so that's still there. But they used to have this tri-corner roast beef sandwich, and it was like on focaccia bread, and there was coleslaw and roast beef, and it was just
Good.
amazing. Of course, the characters have changed too. The Liberty Tree Tavern used to be a character meal with like Minnie and her colonial outfit, and I think the Chipmunks and Goofy. I feel like they used to be way more creative with like the characters dressing up. Like I
Yeah.
also one of my favorite early memories was Minnie's Menahuda at the
Yeah.
Helen, and her in the pink hula outfit, just so cute. She
Yes.
still does have cute outfits. I think Beach Club, she now has like a really cute striped dress. Um,
Fun.
so
That's so
there.
fun that because that was the thing. That was the first breakfast I did. Oh my gosh, I was so scared because they actually used to have Pinocchio randomly at that breakfast, and Pinocchio terrified me. That was the first Disney film I ever saw in a theater because they did some sort of like special at like one of our local theaters, some little like re-release thing where you could go. And my parents remembered seeing it, and they were like, "We're gonna take you to go see Pinocchio." And I was like, I was not even a year old. I think it was shortly before the trip, and I started screaming because it's just kind of a terrifying movie for kids. And my parents didn't realize it. Like they're watching, they're like, this really wasn't as kid friendly as I remembered. But then we went to the breakfast and Pinocchio was there and I'm screaming. My parents always laugh about it because I said, well, I always laugh about it. They feel bad. But Pinocchio came over and I laugh about it because we have it on camera where I'm going, no, no. And my mom, we were actually watching it for the 50th. My mom was like, I feel so bad. She felt really sad about it. And she was like, I feel so bad that you were so scared by him. And I was laughing my head off because it was funny. But the characters did scare me a little bit. Like Pluto licked me once. And my mom says that I spent the rest of the day, I think I was 2 or 3 at that point, where I was getting like a little bit more okay. But I was like, Pluto licked me like all day. I was like, Pluto licked me.
Not sure how I feel about this.
But Minnie was my favorite. Even when I was a year old, if Minnie came in, I was like, she's so cool. I want to be like her.
Yes, I was the same. I remember on our first trip, we were at Chef Mickey's for dinner the first night, and all the characters had come around, and like I just remember how ridiculously excited I was. Like I think I ran and hugged her before she even got to our table. I was like, could not wait for her to get there.
Yeah.
We went, I think maybe that same trip, they had a Pocahontas meal at Roaring Fork at Wilderness Lodge.
Oh, that's so
And when John Smith came around, we thought, or well, my brothers, I'm sure my parents knew it was a character, but we thought he was the waiter. And I feel like that's one of the best jokes in my family. It's like, oh yeah, that time John Smith was the waiter.
that's pretty funny. We had one where it wasn't a character meal, but I met Belle and I was old enough. Well, I guess I shouldn't say the magic, but I guess I was like old enough to know that there were voice actors for the cartoons, and so like I was convinced that it was Paige O'Hara. I was like convinced that I met Paige O'Hara, and I was just like confused by all of it. I don't know because her voice was really good.
Yes. When you get a character who is like so good, just having a great day. Like we
Yeah.
had this one video of Gaston when my brother Athos was there, and like Athos was I told Athos I wanted to take a picture of him like comparing his biceps to Gaston, and that Gaston was just peak Gaston. He was so funny, like so confident, the perfect lip snarl and everything. Just so good.
Hate meeting Gaston because I just found like sometimes with the villains, like I'm so scared that they're gonna be like really sarcastic and make it super uncomfortable. But then I just got so into meeting characters and just being like, you know what, I'm just gonna go along with whatever they say. I'm just gonna be as like ridiculous as they are. And I started like teasing Gaston constantly about books. Like I would always come up with like a new thing to say. And there's a video that I did where I had a purse that was shaped like a book. It was like a Beauty and the Beast book. And so I was like, I found the perfect book for you. And I purposely like had it empty. And so like I brought it up and I was like, look, there's nothing inside. Plus it's really useful. You could like put stuff in there. And he was like, I love this. This is amazing.
Oh, I always love the stepsisters. I feel like they're so hilarious whenever you meet them. They're just over the top. We've
Yes.
done 1900 Park Fair at the Grand Floridian a couple times, and that is also so funny because you have the stepsisters like shouting across the room at each other, and then Cinderella and Prince Charming just like so level, even keeled, gliding about. Yeah.
That one sounds like a fun one. I've done the breakfast there when I was a kid, but I have never done the dinner there. But I have met Anastasia and Giselle in the parks, and I did a it was a really funny video where I asked them for like etiquette lessons, and so they like went all out. They were like showing me how to walk and turn and like. And my I had a Cinderella bag that's like one of the D&H handbags with the Cinderella head on it, and they saw that and they started freaking out. And they're like, "It's her head! It's her head!" And they're like screaming. It was so funny. I love meeting them.
They're so funny. One time I think I asked them, or I told them I liked their eyeshadow, and they said they were born like that. It's not even eyeshadow, just permanent color.
Permanent bright green.
Little girls did not wear princess dresses when I was little. And I
Yeah,
was like,
it's
I
like
was like kind of jealous, like when I grew up, and it's like I have to wait for the Halloween party to wear a
I
dress.
I would have. I dressed up as Snow White one year. I dressed up as Aurora one year. My mom made me the blue Aurora costume, and I'm like, I totally would have, but I feel like people would have. I was the eccentric kid that would have done that, but it just like would have been weird. I don't think they started doing it until like I want to say, I really feel like it became a thing in like the 2010s, honestly.
Yeah, probably when like the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique opened, then it was like kind of a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wish I could do that too. I'm just like, I just want to be a kid. Come on. I have done some sort of adult version or something, or maybe it's just a Grand Floridian, but it's some kind of weird hair thing. But like, I want the whole dress. I'm gonna do it. Like, I want the whole thing. I want the whole
And like
experience.
a good dress too. Like you mentioned you were looking for like a good Belle costume. I would love to get a Snow White costume, but like I wanted a really good one. And I feel like when I look on Etsy or whatever, it's like $1,000. And I'm like, I guess I don't want it that much. But someday it'd be fun. Yeah. But it would need to be like a really beautiful. Yeah.
The Disney store came out with one for adults that was actually really cool that I have that I got in college. And it's not like perfectly like cosplay authentic, but it's a tulle skirt with like glitter on it, which I have to like keep it in a trash bag and like put it on right before I go out of the house because it gets glitter everywhere. But it's like the tulle yellow skirt and it's got the big puffy things and the big white collar. So they did a pretty good job. And it was at the Disney store for like one season. And I ended up finding it on sale in college and like I wore it a million times. But I love it. But they don't. I guess it's like they don't want to encourage people, but to dress up in the parks. I actually saw a woman go into a restroom once at Hollywood Studios and put on an Elsa costume and walk out of the restroom to like go take pictures. And I was just you are flirting with getting put in Disney jail.
I feel like they are like a little bit more turn a blind eye to it these days because I've seen that too occasionally, like not during a Halloween party, an adult dressed up, and I'm like, are you supposed to be? Although Galaxy's Edge, like I find that sort of what's the word? Like the rules for that confusing because like tons of guests when we went shortly after it had opened were in costume and it was really cool. But I was like, does that count? Does it not count as a costume? Like, and they sell the costumes there. I mean, I totally would. I really want to do Leia's Cloud City outfit
Oh, yeah.
at some point. Actually, I think that is a family Halloween party thing that we'd like to do in the future. Because one of my brothers wants to be Lando with like a cloak, and another would be Lobot. So yeah, that would be fun. But yeah, but I feel like you almost could wear that to Hollywood Studios any day, just because people do seem to. I don't know if it's allowed. And when that hotel opens,
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. It sounds absolutely insane. Like it's gonna be very immersive, it sounds like.
yeah, I think you get costumes when you check in.
Do you? I didn't know that.
Maybe
Oh,
I just was interpreting that from because I think I saw a commercial where they seemed to
yeah.
be in costumes. So I was just,
Yeah, I did I always do I mean, I love Disney bounding, and so I always push it just like not like to a costume, but my mom makes most of my Disney bounding dresses, and so I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a little kid. My dad showed them to me, and so she made me a 1950s inspired Princess Leia outfit, and I wore it once. The very first time I went to Galaxy's
that was
Edge,
so cute.
like I was like in fangirl heaven. I was like so emotional. I was like, I can't believe I'm about to go in here and I got the Leia buns and a sort of dress that looks like hers, and I'm just living my dreams. And there's the Millennium Falcon. It was cool.
So exciting. Yeah, there are lots of ways to dress up without like full on
Yeah,
costume. And I feel like it is always so fun to like wear a 1950s dress. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be shorts and a t-shirt. It can be, but like there's no reason not to dress up if you enjoy it.
The funniest one is I don't know if you've seen on well it's my profile picture for my YouTube channel, but I have the purple flower crown and a purple dress like a Rapunzel inspired that my mom made for my birthday one year, and we were in line to meet Peter Pan. And you know how it's kind of weird by the Neverland map where I think if people like don't know, like you're kind of like, what is that, why are you in line for that? But we were the first in line because like I was determined that I really wanted to meet him that day for my birthday because I love meeting Peter Pan. And there were people coming up and they're like, are you a fairy? And I was like,
Are you there? Are you the meet and greet?
because I had the crown on. They're like, well, you have the crown. I thought you were a fairy. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm here for Peter Pan. I wish I was a fairy. But
When
it
I
is,
dressed up as Mary Poppins, because we were staying at the Grand Floridian and we got ready for the party. But like, of course, Mary Poppins is at 1900 Park Fair in the morning, I think. So I feel like when we were walking around, people were a little bit confused that is Mary here? Like, what? It's not. is Mary supposed to be here? There was a cast member who said when we walked into the club lounge, that's what she thought. She was like, is Mary here?
We do look so much like her. That is a fantastic costume, I have to say. But it is kind of funny, especially like at the Halloween parties. There are always the people who it's like you have to do the like bless your heart kind of thing, that they're like a little bit confused about Disney. They're like super excited to be there, but they're like don't know how it all works. And it's got to be so overwhelming. And I do think that those are the people that are kind of like, well, it could be like Disney's magical. or the Halloween party, I've had people be like, you know how you can like go in at 4. Well, we have passes and annual passes, so but I think you could go in with your costume at 4. So we'd always like try to plan that so I could get maximum amount of time in the costume because it is so much fun. But there definitely be people like, why is everyone dressed up? Like they come up to me like, why are you dressed up? It's so awkward because it's like I'm not really weird, I promise. Or one year for this party, my mom and I went early and we wore matching ugly sweaters. And like the whole day, everyone looked at us and they were like, "Why are you wearing matching ugly Christmas sweaters?" And it was like early November too, because it was like the first Christmas party. So we're like, "There's a Christmas party tonight. I swear, we're not
There are
that."
Christmas decorations on Main Street. Okay, we match.
Exactly.
Well, should we jump into our readathon books?
Yeah, sure.
Um, yeah, it's so fun. It was fun with the challenges, like researching the A through E tickets, because I feel like I wasn't even super aware of exactly which attractions were original and which, had been replaced or like changed up. So it was fun to just look over them and be like, oh, that's probably like I think Enchanted Tiki Room. What was it? Tropical Serenade. Like it had a different name.
Yeah.
It was fun. And like the canoes, there are no canoes now.
Oh, I know. I think we did the canoes when I was little. I think they got rid of those like in 2000 or something. But I'm pretty sure that, yeah, we did do the canoes. And I do kind of feel like I barely remember them. I think keel boats too.
Yeah. Was
But yeah,
that separate from, I meant to look that up. Was it separate from the like, well, yeah, because the Admiral Joe Fowler was also
mhm.
on the list. So it was separate from the steam, what's the word I'm looking for? Steamboat, the normal boat.
Yeah, the steamboat, basically. Yeah. Yeah, that was separate. And so it's like a little it was like a little brown cabin boat that when I looked it up, it was inspired by an episode or 2 episodes of Davy Crockett or something like that. But when you read all the old history, like watch Walt's interviews, he was so into like frontierland type stuff, Mark Twain, like the Old West, like that was his thing. But it's just crazy to think about, like you had the Tom Sawyer raft going, you had the canoes going, you had the keel boats going, and you had the river boat. Like timing all that, like that was a busy river.
Busy, yeah, it's a quiet river now. It's crazy
Yeah.
to think. Yeah, there was all that traffic.
Do you remember Aunt Polly's when Aunt Polly's was open? They'll open it every once in a while now, but it was like open.
Vaguely, I do. Yeah, it's always so depressing when you walk by the things that you're like, oh, that used to be open all the time.
To get lunch there sometimes. It was kind of like a nice little relaxing place to go. And I haven't been to Tom Sawyer's Island in forever. And I went on the 4th of July right before the pandemic. And we were gonna go for the 4th of July because Aunt Polly's was open, and then it started raining or something. And we went to the Carousel of Progress, and it was one of those things. It's just like we couldn't get over there before, like with decent weather. So I was really sad that I didn't get to go over there for the 4th of July because I feel like that's such a 4th of July place to go. But it's so relaxing because it was pretty crowded for the 4th, and so I was like, oh, this will be so relaxing. And then it started raining.
Oh, our favorite thing at Tom Sawyer Island for many years was if you took the first boat. Did you ever do this? They hid, I think it was 5 paintbrushes around Tom Sawyer Island, and if you found one, you gave it to the cast member, and you got a fast pass for your whole party for either
Oh,
Splash or Big Thunder. And so I think we did that multiple trips, and we were always like, okay, we're gonna split up, find the find the paintbrush. It was just, I don't know if they still do that. It was really fun.
I had no idea that was a thing. So you had to be on the first boat of the morning to do that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you were on the second boat, you
Yeah.
could find one, but usually the cast member would tell everyone on the first boat. And so then everyone would just be madly looking and they would all be found like really fast. Because they weren't in like super terribly hard to find places. But yeah, it was always so exciting to have like an actual scavenger hunt. Like, where is that
Oh,
paintbrush?
fine. Well, they have the scavenger hunts at Epcot now, but I don't think like you really get anything cool. I'm like, oh, that would be amazing. Maybe like a free lightning lane pass for the day. Like if Disney's listening, that I think that's a good PR.
I know, wouldn't that be nice? Gosh, yeah. I wonder if they can issue those as because it was so easy in that time. It was just like a piece of paper. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, how on your app could that be a guest recovery? I want Lightning Lane today.
Remember the yellow fast passes that cast members could give you, because one gave me one on my birthday and I didn't get to use it, and I still have it. Like, I kept, it's like one of those things I was like, I'll use this one, like I really want it, and then you don't, like, you just don't use it. But I'm kind of glad that I have it, because it's this little certificate that's like
Is
you get to.
Pinocchio on it? I think I
Yeah,
know what you're talking about.
I still have it in my bag. I should have used it, but I'll have to
We
present time I go back and be like, is this valid?
Did you do the, I'm sure you did, the Year of a Million Dreams where they had like all the random
Yeah.
giveaways?
What year was that? I think we did that. It was
Oh my
only 20.
gosh. Yeah, gosh, I couldn't say what it was specifically. 20, yeah, like 2010 or 2011. I think.
Maybe so. What?
My mom called it the Year of a Million Disappointments because you always saw other people with the stuff and you were like,
We didn't get anything. I don't remember anything. We, you know what? We actually went. I think we went to Disneyland then, and this was like the craziest story. We were a little bit like late checking in, and I was super frazzled. And I was there for an internship, and I was like moving out, and I had this like plush stuffed animal that I take everywhere with me, because it's just like I've had it since I was a little kid, and I thought I had lost it. And this cast member was so nice, because she was like, "Oh, are you okay?" Like, I just seemed like kind of frazzled. And I was just like, "Oh, I'm trying to like move out, and we're doing like a trip really quick before I move from LA." And I was like, "I think I lost my childhood plush, but I'm not sure." And she brought me a certificate for a plush and said to go get one at Disneyland. And so I got the cutest Winnie the Pooh with a bee costume. He's wearing a bumblebee costume. And my plush. So then I felt kind of bad, but I was like, but I still love that, like that Winnie the Pooh so much. It's so cute.
yeah, that's always so nice. I love those memories where like a cast member just went above and beyond and made it super special.
Yeah. One time my mom lost her umbrella, and she went into a shop at Animal Kingdom because we had gone to eat, and she thought maybe someone had turned it in. And she was asking, she was like, "Has anybody, turned in this umbrella? It's like this, da da da." And she's like, "No, we haven't seen anything." My mom was like, "Oh, that's okay. I'll get another one." And so we were looking around the shop, and the cast member taps my mom on the shoulder, and she presents an umbrella, and she's like, "Here, this is from Mickey." And my mom just like started tearing up. We're like, "This is so sweet. It's from Mickey." And she still has that umbrella because it's like a special Disney umbrella. So I
Yeah,
love it.
that's why you go to Disney is because they
Yeah.
make things right. Like I think one time when my brother was little, I was like we were at the table we were holding a table for everybody and he knocked over the orange juice and it's like gushing on the ground. And this cast member comes over and like she brings a new orange juice and immediately starts cleaning it up. And it's just so sweet that like, no, you don't have to go buy another one. Here it is. We'll make it work, make it right. Like that I feel like is what makes Disney, what makes you want to come back because they
Yeah.
make it right when things go wrong.
One of my friends went on her first trip, and she said that she accidentally dropped a funnel cake in the Royal Princess Fairy Tale Hall all over the carpet, and she felt like so bad. And she was like, "I probably won't have food in here." It was her first trip, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna kick me out." And she start coming over, and she's just like imagining scenarios, and they were like, "We will get you a new funnel cake. We're so sorry." I was just like, "But I literally made a mess on your carpet." They're like, "No, it's fine. We're gonna get you a funnel cake. Cinderella, when you come out, there will be a cast member standing there with a new funnel cake."
Oh,
Just like,
isn't that great? Don't you just want to hear someone say that to you? I will
yeah.
get you a new funnel cake. That's like the best.
That sold it for her. She's like, "I'm coming back to this place. This is amazing. I see why you love it." But anyway, sorry, we got off track.
No worries. It's so fun talking. Yeah, just talking Disney memories. And like, there are so many. It's like, how do you even stop? There, like, as you talk, you're like remembering more. It's just
Yeah.
and one thing that I've enjoyed with You Readathon over the years is like I'm not always familiar with the things like the original books that inspired. Like I hadn't read P.L. Travers's Mary Poppins or like the original Swiss Family Robinson. Like it's funny because I love reading so much, but so many of these books, it's like you're aware of the Disney version, but you're not super aware of the original. So I feel like that's been one of the most things with this readathon is just like going back and being like, oh, this is what inspired you know, this part in the attraction, or oh, Alice in Wonderland, the book is just as weird as the movie. They're
Yeah,
both so weird.
I feel like the book's even weirder than the movie, to be honest.
You watch the movie and you're like, this is so weird. And then you read the book and you're like, wow, they toned it down.
A lot, yeah.
Yes, I actually just started. So I just started my C ticket read. I've been kind of going in A, B, C, D, E order. So I just started The Wind in the Willows. I'm very interested to see if this is as weird as Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which I think it must be because my brothers, one of our favorite memories is from Disneyland. We rode Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, which they did. I think they used to have one at Disney World. Maybe it
Yeah,
was where Pooh is now.
yeah, I
Um,
barely remember it, but it was always scary, but I like it. I remember riding it more in Disneyland, but yeah, that it's a cool ride.
yeah, and of course, Snow White's Scary Adventures used to be where the Princess Fairy Tale Hall is now.
Yeah,
Um,
totally missed that. I love Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I'm glad they saw something Snow White related, but I loved Snow White's Scary Adventure. I'm so glad they still have it at Disneyland. Like, knock on wood, but I was excited to be able to ride it there.
It is so nice that you go to Disneyland and you're like, I'm glad this is still here. This is weird
Yeah,
and wonderful and deserves to be here. Like the way I somehow was not really aware of this before we went on the ride, but like the sign up front is like you're going to nowhere in particular. And then you look at the map on the wall behind the cars and you see there are devils and flames and like Mr. Toad goes through hell. And of course our ridiculous experience was that we're like yelling and reacting to the ride, like we're about to run into the train, and the ride stops. And my brother's like, are we dead? Like, is this heaven? Or is it nowhere in particular? And then we walk out through hell, and it was just hilarious. So I'm very interested to see like how weird is this gonna be? Like, are we gonna visit nowhere in particular? I feel like we must. Surely that was too weird for them to have just made up for the ride. So yeah, have you ever read Wind in the Willows?
not read that one, no. So have you started it yet?
Yeah, I'm like only a chapter in,
I'm trying to.
so not very far, but I'm excited to get further in that. Have you been attacking your Booty Readathon reads in any particular order?
No, and not in any particular order. I'm well, sort of mostly for me. I just wanted to get out like a couple of the shorter ones. I actually did. I've read three so far, which is crazy. I took off last week so I could kind of have like a little readathon staycation because every time I've done Victober, I always feel like I can never get everything done. And so I was like, I'm a co-host this year. Like I can't slack on this. Like I gotta get through my reading list. And now I've read like three books, and it's only been like the first it's like not even the first half yet, so I might add something to the Haunted Mansion. But I know my Victorian Haunted Mansion pick will take a little bit longer. But I've read the Disney Princesses, a celebration of art and creativity, and that is like 5 star, chef's kiss. Like I just expected it to be a cool coffee table book, and I thought it would be something that like it wouldn't overwhelm me. Like if I got overwhelmed, like it would be a shorter read, which it is a shorter read, but like each chapter goes so in depth, like more in depth than I thought. And I looked and I saw that the author is actually a film professor, film studies professor who specializes in the history of animation. And he brings in like stuff about the history of the fairy tales, like the time period, like why stepmothers were villainized. And then he talks about each princess and how they were conceived and how they had different personalities at first. Like Belle wasn't supposed to be a reader; she was supposed to be a baker, and the female screenwriter was like, "Absolutely not. She's going to read." Like, how do we make this active? And she was like, "Do exactly what I did growing up." She was like, "I walked and read at the same time. When my mom would tell me to do stuff, I would like hold my book." And so I thought that just like little things like that. I knew some of the things, but I've learned so much from that book that's a really great book.
I saw that on your Instagram. I feel like I might need to go out and get it. It looks so beautiful, and like all the art is just incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I've loved that book. And then Pollyanna, I read Pollyanna, which I really liked. And then I just finished Cinder, which I really, really liked. Like, I didn't know if I would like, so I love YA novels. I'm like so weird on the spectrum because I'm like, I've read like all of Frances Burney's novels and like I can like talk in depth about 18th century novels. And then I'm like, Twilight. Give me like cheesy like YA fantasy. So Cinder was not like it was not as like cheesy as Twilight at all. It was actually really well done and definitely surprised me a lot. And I'm super excited to read the rest of the series. I think Kate Howe has read it too because I actually saw on Goodreads that she'd given it 5 stars. So But yeah, I really liked it a lot. I already ordered the next one in the series for November.
That's exciting. There are just too many books. I feel like I think Cinder's one of them. Books that I like always see on Instagram or, on
Yeah,
BookTube, on Bookstagram. They're like at the back of my mind of like, oh, I need to check that out sometime. And I just like, I never get to it because there's so many other things. But yeah, that sounds really, really fun. I feel like a good Cinderella retelling is always just like
yeah.
so delicious. Like it's just so lovely. It's just such a lovely tale, and it's fun the way it's been interpreted in so many different
And
worlds and ways.
I could not put it down because it was so unique, and it was like I really like the characters. I love the sci-fi elements. I didn't think I would like that. I wasn't sure, like I love sci-fi, but I was like, is this gonna be too weird? But it was very whimsical, and I also I don't know. I like she's like a cyborg Cinderella, which I thought would be weird, but it actually wasn't weird at all. It was very cool. And there were just like a lot of plot twists of how they interpreted in sort of that kind of world, like how they interpreted the, like the shoe and and different things like that. So yeah, I really liked it. I mean, it's definitely like a YA series, but it's definitely a fun YA series.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished my Frontierland is inspired by the Frontierland Shooting Gallery, which was actually very appropriate to that. It was Riders of the Purple Sage by Zane Grey, which is like
Uh-huh.
supposed to be like one of the most popular westerns. It was published in like 1916, something like that. I just thought it'd be fun to check it out. I didn't like expect to like love it, but I couldn't put it down, and it wasn't quite like a mystery, but it was like there was some mysterious elements in it, and it was more just like the action was so exciting. You like couldn't wait to find out what was going to happen next, and like the descriptions of the landscape were so vivid because of course it's like the true Wild West. Like this one writer is like exploring this canyon, incredibly detailed canyon. I think it's called Deception Pass, because like people would get into it, but you had no idea how they got out of it. And like he finds all these cool little glens, and yeah, like just the kind of building tension of like this rider from far away shows up, and who is he and what's he looking for. And but yeah, it was funny. I didn't like expect it to be a sort of so exciting you want to get to the next chapter and get to the next chapter kind of book, but it totally was. The other Western that I've read is also like, I think this one is the original Western, The Virginian by Owen Whistler, and that one was also really good. So yeah, it was fun to like discover another Western. I wouldn't have thought that would be a genre that I would love, but I feel like I need to read more of them, because now like I loved The Virginian. That wasn't as like exciting, but it was like really good writing, and I felt like the characters were really like had a lot of depth. And I mean it was also exciting. I feel like I often recommend that one though, and my dad read it, and he did not like it, and I think it was because, well, it's the Wild West, and so sometimes the characters have to take justice into their own hands, which is not great. Like those obviously aren't the parts of the book that I like, but somehow the rest of it is so exciting, and it's such an immersive world that like I didn't mind that part. My dad that was like, the main character isn't even good. Like, it's the Wild West, Dad.
Yeah, you have those weird like anti-heroes with westerns. Well, they always call, at least in my film classes, they would always call Star Wars, the Star Wars series, like a space western, because that's kind of what it is. Like Han Solo's like the hombre, like
Yeah.
the cool hand Luke or something. I don't know, but it kind of has that. It has that feel to it. I've seen a lot more Western movies than I've read books, but I'll have to check one out. There is a movie for Riders of the Purple Sage. I feel like it might be a made for TV movie. I've seen it, and it's been a really long time though.
Yeah, I need to watch the movie too. As soon as I finished it, I wanted to look up and see if there was a sequel, because like of the way the ending was left, it was like I have to read more. I have to find out. I don't want to spoil it, but like I have to find out how this evolves.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yes. I mean, sometimes they can be really fun. And I think if you are like I said, like a Star Wars fan, it kind of translates over because it is a very similar thing. It's just kind of in a real world versus a space world.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Really cool.
Yes. So what books do you have left, or what are you planning on starting on next?
I just barely started the Queens of Animation audiobook last week, which seems really cool. And I think it's going to be a great follow-up and like even more in depth than the Disney Princesses, Celebration of Disney Princesses. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then Great Expectations is what I am probably going to start tonight. And then I'm thinking that I might try to add some more like Victober crossover. Like if I know that Great Expectations is like 500 pages, so it'll take me a little bit longer than the quick little like Pollyanna was like 200 pages, I think. But anyway, so I might pick some things. I was looking at like some of Elizabeth Gaskell's Gothic Tales, since that's like a Victober. That's a read along or something for Victober, I think. And so I was thinking I might just like pick a couple of them. I've been hearing good things from like the Victober corner of the internet of the old nurses story. And then I've been hearing about Lois the Witch for a long time. So I thought they're kind of like short stories. So I might like add those in because they'd be perfect for the Haunted Mansion. I'm just gonna have to do what my parents did. I'm gonna have to go to that kiosk and like go buy some more tickets so I can go on the Haunted Mansion again. So
Totally.
I was choosing from anyway. I thought about rereading or Wuthering Heights or doing the audiobook or something. So I might add some more in since I'm going faster than I thought I would. But I'm excited for Great Expectations. I've never read Dickens outside of A Christmas Carol, and it's something that, like, I don't know how I've avoided because I've studied like so many other like classic authors, but I feel like I keep wanting to wait until I find the perfect Dickens. And I just randomly picked up Great Expectations at a used bookstore once, and it's just been on my shelf. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pick something for this readathon that I already have that's just been staring at me that I have not read yet. And so that's why I was like, you know what? I just might as well just dive in. A lot of people like Great Expectations. So we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed. No one ever compares to Austen. I always love your videos where you talk about Jane Austen because we were like kindred spirits with that. Nobody ever compares to Jane Austen for me. Like, I could probably spend my life just rereading her books over and over again.
It's true. It's so hard. I feel like just, yeah, like you say, no one gets there. It's like, all other older authors are obviously brilliant in their own way. And
Yeah.
but like modern authors who kind of try to go in her vein, like it just comes off stilted. Susanna Clarke is the only one who like I kind of respected. Have you read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell?
I
That's
have not.
a spooky book. That would probably work for Haunted Mansion or something. But she's the author of that. And of course, it's set in Jane Austen's time period. And there are a couple Jane Austen nods. But I felt like she did that sort of style. But then obviously it's a very chunky book, and like it's very like magic and adventure and intrigue and like yeah, more of the, I think it was it Sir Walter Scott is the one who said that quote about how he could do the bow wow strain as good as well as anybody else, but Jane Austen is the one who does like the fine brush on ivory of like so tiny, so beautifully detailed. So Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is a bit of the more bow wow strain, but the writing style, I felt like she was sort of Jane Austen-y without making me cringe, which I really respected. But yeah, like Jane Austen to me is just like the perfect combination of brilliant, like super incisive writing and insightful into like people's, just life and people and human nature, but like also comfy and like cozy and like lovely. And didn't she describe Pride and Prejudice as like bright and sparkling? So it's like you don't often find that combination of just like super super smart but also simultaneously like just lovely and comforting. And yeah,
And he has that kind of like, I love Oscar Wilde too, but like especially like Oscar Wilde's plays. I still haven't read the Picture of Dorian Gray, so maybe I'll pick that up. But like he has a disparaging satire, and that she also has, but she has the heart, and he doesn't always. He really doesn't have the heart to it, but it's just like she can be so disparaging about her characters, but then be like so adoringly like loving towards them too. It's like she sees them like honestly, but that's almost like makes her love them more, and then as a reader it makes you want to love them more. I don't know, she's amazing. We're definitely on the Jane Austen Appreciation Society.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I need to finish. It's a sort of quasi Victober, ironic Victober read as I'm finishing the memoir of Jane Austen by her nephew, James Austen Leigh. And it's as if Mr. Collins wrote Jane Austen's biography. It is so hilarious. So yeah, obviously it feels like she knew these people in real life, and she That's part of the what makes me respect her so much is that like she found a way to like appreciate Lady Catherine instead of just being furious and hating Lady Catherine, which I feel like when you meet a Lady Catherine in real life, it's so frustrating. But like she found a way like to sort of appreciate Lady Catherine in this weird way. And yeah. And take the sting out of it a little bit for readers too, because when you meet a frustrating person, you're like, well, you're just Lady Catherine, so I know what to do. I know what to do with you.
Yeah, I kind of laugh at it. I mean, there are so many times that that you just that you read something in Austen and you just think this just translates so well today. I did a thing where I reread all of the books in a row with like a group read during the main part of the pandemic, and some of the girls and I, when we were reading Northanger Abbey, what's his name? John Thorpe, right? That's his name.
Yeah.
John Thorpe is so obnoxious, and the way he talks about his carriages, it's just like a modern guy who's talking about his car. And it's just like you're like, people haven't changed that much, but we were all talking about that. Like we've all met that guy. Every single person has met that guy.
Yes. Oh, so many. Yes. All of her characters, it's like this happens. Or like I always think of the Netherfield ball, how like Elizabeth has such high expectations and then she goes to it and it's like the opposite of her expectations and nothing that she wants. Like it's just a down, a total downer. And I feel like when that's happened to me, like you're really excited for some party
Yeah.
or some event and then it's like just flat. But you're like,
Yeah.
you know what? It happens to the best of us. It happens to Elizabeth Bennet. So
Yeah. Or like when Catherine is so anxious to go back home and read. There's like several assemblies or whatever where she just really wants to go back and read. And it's like, I understand this. I get you. I understand.
I know. Yeah. Or Mr. Bennett in his library, like, don't let anyone disturb me. Like, just need quiet time.
Have you had a chance to read Frances Burney by chance?
Yes, I've read Evelina and what's the other one?
Cecilia, Camilla.
Yeah, I don't think I've read Camilla, but I've done Cecilia.
Okay.
You know what I need to read though, inspired by you, Mariah Edgeworth. I have read Belinda, which I loved. And of course, Jane Austen said something to her niece that like she only ever is going to read her own writings, her niece's writings, and Mariah Edgeworth. And I
Yeah.
think like if you look at the original Mariah Edgeworth publication, like Jane Austen like subscribed to it and like
Yeah.
contributed. But you were talking about an Irish
Yeah.
novel.
Yeah.
That sounded fascinating. I totally need to read that.
Mariah Edgeworth was Irish. I think she was like the British landlord, like noble Irish, sort of like the ruling class. But
Not really Irish. I'm Irish, and I studied in yeah. So it's like oh, such a like
yeah.
tangled history because like people like Oscar Wilde, they're like, oh, he's an Irish author, and you're like, he's not real. Like sort of. I mean, yes, Irish,
But the empathy that she has and the social issues that she brings about, I think it's like it's been a while since I read it, so I feel like it could be slow for some people. But if you're like really, really interested in Irish history or Irish heritage, like I think you would really like it because it's really cool the way that she brings an absentee landlord over and he actually sees like the damage that's being done. His family lives this wealthy life in England and like the damage that's actually being done to the peasants, his workers in Ireland, things like that. And it's just like it's really fascinating to see from that time period someone who was of that class kind of interpreting what it must have been like for their workers or farmers, their what's it called, like they weren't sharecroppers, but it was basically that kind of thing.
yeah.
And always the rent being way too high and never being able to get enough from the potatoes and all of that. I find it really fascinating.
Yeah, I'd love to read that because I think Belinda's the only one I read, but I just remember being so impressed with her writing and just being like, no wonder Jane Austen loved this author. I need to read more of her. But then I got distracted. Yeah, there's always so many, and Fanny Burney. Like I've only read the two from her. I think Evelina and Cecilia.
The wonder is, and I'm always going on the book, and it makes me out of print, but it is my favorite. Cecilia was my favorite, and then I read that one. Then Evelina was a struggle. I read that this year for Jane Austen July. It was like the fourth time I tried to read it, and I think it's because I read all of her other books, and this felt sort of like Northanger Abbey, even though I love Northanger Abbey, but it was like I didn't know what to compare it to. It actually felt like Jane Austen's Juvenilia to me, like compared to the other Frances Burney stuff. And I mean, she's very melodramatic. She has a different style, but you can see the little connections. One of my favorite things about Cecilia is that there's the voluble Miss Larolles, and then she shows up as a mention in Persuasion, and it's so much funnier when you realize that Anne Elliot is comparing herself to Miss Larolles, who's this like complete just chatterbox and just completely obnoxious, and for Anne Elliot to it's like cute. It's like you really think like you're the most calm person, and to think that when you're around Captain Wentworth that you're Miss Larolles, like it's when you get that background.
It's so delightful that like Jane Austen had like the way we think of like, oh, this is Mr. Collins or this is Lady Catherine, that she had her own set of like comparisons, like, oh, this is Miss Larolles, this is I'm actually on my Boo to You readathon list. Well, for my e-ticket is the oh my goodness, Northanger Abbey, Mysteries of Udolpho. Yes, by Anne Radcliffe. I've never read Anne Radcliffe. I feel like I need to rectify this. So.
Yeah, I've not read her either. I have the book. I've tried to pick it up a couple of times, but it was one of those things I was never in the mood for it. So I'm super excited to hear what you think and, hear your review of it.
Yeah. So at some point, I feel like I also need to read Lover's Vows. I've never read that one.
I think Kate House said that she read that one during Jane Austen July, and she really enjoyed it, and it brought a lot of context, but I haven't had a chance to read that yet. It's so fun to go back and like see who they were influenced by, and it even kind of like comes full circle. I feel like Jane Austen and Walt Disney are like my two favorite creatives, and they were both so inspired by things that came before them, but then they took those things and made them absolutely brand new. Like, Jane Austen, we think of all of those stories as very Jane Austen. And even though there were other people doing similar types of things, she just put her own unique spin on it, and she brought it to the next level. And that was exactly like with Walt Disney with fairy tales. He just brought everything to the next level. So that's how I compared both of them. I think that they link up in that way.
Totally. Yeah. I think they're both brilliant. They're two of my tops too. You don't get better than Jane Austen and Disney. The only Jane Austen Disney connection or Disney World connection that I've been really aware of is that in the land, Living with the Land, in the food court, they played a song from Sense and Sensibility. And I always just really enjoyed that when it came on. I was like, these other people don't even know that this is Sense and Sensibility.
I have never caught that. That is amazing. I love it. That's great.
Well, this was so much fun. So many good books, good Disney memories, not so scary memories. This is really fun.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk all day, definitely.
Oh my gosh, totally. I know, I feel like this video is already getting long, but like, it's hard to stop. There's so many fun topics. Well, everyone who's still watching, you're amazing. Give yourself a 5 stars. Make sure you're subscribed to Anne. Her channel will be linked down below, and I'm sure it will already have popped up, linked up above. And yeah, obviously stay tuned for our Boo to You Readathon wrap-ups at the end of the month, and hope everyone's having a wonderful and spooky October.
Yes, Boo to you and you and you and you.
And you and you and you.